Hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. So for this week's video tutorial, it was voted on that I continue with essentially the Alice in Wonderland series, at least for this video, and that I actually draw the mouse character. Now, from the original script that a couple of us were working on several years back in college, I didn't have any description information of this character, so I'm basing most of the new concepts off of the skeletal cards that were initially created in last week's video. Just to simplify it, because I obviously don't have the script, so I can't work from it. Now, since this character is not necessarily supposed to be an evil character, it is important that I do make it look like it would fit in the world, and it looks a little bit creepy and a little bit scary, and it has that undertone to it. But it needs to remain as an undertone, so it can't take away from the character. So I can't do the character fully skeletal-like. I need to include some aspects that would make the character essentially a little less intimidating for essentially the character Alice. So what I initially did essentially is work out the bone structure for the character, and then using that as a reference point, I started adding details like skin and muscle to the character until I reached a good compromise between the two character designs. So by doing this, I was able to achieve something that still fit with the initial character design of last week's and fit into the same world, but was a little bit less terrifying essentially, because it needs to this character needs to appeal to the character that's Alice. Now, because of that, I still want to keep that undertone of an aggressive undertone to these characters. I really worked out on the pose, so I had to look at a lot of reference material, obviously. I was looking at a lot of mouse reference material to help figure out how I could make the pose a little bit more dynamic. Also, going into this design, I knew that I was going to make the character slightly human-like. By including some of those human-like attributes, it helps to offset the character a bit, make it more relatable, but also make it foreign to us as individuals. So once again, it has that creepiness to it, but it still has a very interesting appeal to it, and it has essentially both worlds mixed in together with that. So by doing this, I was able to get essentially a good compromise between the design elements, so that this character still fit within the entire essentially world that essentially I'm creating at the moment. So I'm just working out some of the details in the face. As you can see, I'm painting it in, and I'm experimenting with how light and how much detail to actually add in. Now, what I end up doing for this character is I make the eyes look very dark and very unusual, and by doing that, it gives essentially an intriguing aspect to the facial expression and the overall concept. So you don't know whether or not to trust this character, and that's the point. The character Alice is not supposed to fully trust this mouse character. She's kind of unnerved by this character, but at the same time, she has no reason to be like offset because this character hasn't tried to harm her physically. So by doing this, it does give you that attribute between the two worlds where it's kind of unnerving, but it's also kind of human-like, so you don't know what to make of it, essentially, of this character. Working out some of the pant elements, and I am trying to incorporate essentially within the design some bone-like aspects of the cloth, and I'm trying to show some rib cages within the design elements, once again, to help tie it back to the card characters, but I'm trying to subdue it slightly as well. So essentially, those bone-like structures are actually incorporated in the clothing, so that's essentially a time period, or that's how these people and creatures within this world dress. It's actually part of that world. So tying those design elements within each drawing helps relate everything together in the end. So you'll notice that I include actually quite a bit of veins and hints of veins and musculature and bones. So essentially, this character has very much almost a bone-like feel to him. Once again, that gives he doesn't look healthy. He's not supposed to look healthy. He's supposed to look slightly malnourished, and this is the point I'm trying to get across when I'm painting this, and I'm keeping this in mind while I'm working on this. I was looking at a lot of reference material on skeletal anatomy for mice. I was also looking at photo reference for mice as well to get the nose and some of the ear aspects and figure out just roughly how far and how human-like and mouse-like I was actually going to make this character. So right now I'm just bumping up the contrast between the dark and the light elements to help contrast out and bring the character forward and include a bit more variety in the lighting. So as you can see, this is the final image. This entire image took about 4 hours to complete, so it was a fairly short image. The background elements were very simple, so that helped simplify it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys soon. So thank you and take care.